Hello everyone. In the previous session, we spoke at length about the plot of the drama Silence, the Court is in Session by Vijay Tendulkar. In this session, the various characters of the play will be described in detail. Vijay Tendulkar uses the possibilities of an open discussion forum which the court provides in order to introduce us to a motley group of characters who are thrown together. He also creates a small social community when they decide to stage a mock trial. Social work ostensibly is the glue that binds the different characters together. The protagonist of the play, Leela Benare, is an independent, self-assertive woman who is also vulnerable to the pressures of traditional norms of morality. Samant is an innocent village man who is asked to act as the fourth witness. Mr. and Mrs. Kashikar's lives are barren with no children. Sukhatme is a flop lawyer. Pongshe is a failed scientist working at a telegraph office. Karnik is a failed actor. Rokde too failed to gain an independent existence. Except the protagonist, almost all characters are sadists suffering from inferiority complex and have no identity of their own. Leela Benare, central character of the play, is an active member of a theatre group. She possesses a natural love for life and a spontaneous joie de vivre, and is also the one who ignores social norms and dictates. Being different from others, she is easily isolated and made the victim of a cruel game cunningly planned by her co-actors. During the course of this so-called game, which is meaningfully set in the form of a mock trial, Miss Benare's private life is exposed and publicly dissected, thereby revealing her illicit love affair with Professor Damle. He is a married man with a family. The affair between the two has resulted in her pregnancy. Professor Damle is significantly absent at the trial, denoting his total withdrawal of responsibility, both social and moral, for the whole situation into which he had landed Miss Benare in. During the trial, he is summoned merely as a witness, while Benare remains the prime accused as the unwed mother of his illegitimate child. Interestingly, the accusation brought against her at the beginning of the trial, that of infanticide, turns into the verdict at the conclusion. Miss Benare is a school teacher who is as sprightly, rebellious and assertive as the heroines of Shakespeare's romantic comedies. As some critics have already observed, she is sexually alive and needs to fulfill her desires. She is not ashamed of her instinct. She is conscientious in her work, and she is also an enlightened activist, being a member of the amateur theatre group. Miss Benare enters the play with her aggressive, even at times mischievously seductive streak, as is evident in her initial interaction with Samant, the innocent, compassionate observer in the play. As a teacher, Miss Benare is proud of herself, as she is punctual and efficient. She is very popular among the students, and so she praises them as she does not find them hypocrites as compared to a lot of the other teachers. According to her, They do not have the blind pride of thinking that they know everything. She thinks that the community of teachers is escapist by nature. They consider themselves to be intellectuals. They pride themselves on their bookish knowledge. But when there is a real problem, they run away. She is free-spirited and is not ready to be imprisoned in the cage prepared by the society for women. She considers herself an individual and not merely a woman. Like Rousseau, she too believes that man is born free, but everywhere he is in chains. And she, as an individual, does not want to bind herself in the established conventions of society. Perhaps due to this search for individuality as a human being, she suffers and becomes an object of criticism in the society. She rejects all limitations that are set for a woman, but in her search for individuality, she faces only treachery, hypocrisy, shallowness, and vanity of the people. Miss Benare is very vocal, very open and frank in her attack on male chauvinism and false concepts of masculinity. So, the other members of the troupe gang up against her and plan to expose and humiliate her through the trial. Leela Benare is mercifully different. But difference and deviation are things Indian society does not give its women. So, Leela Benare pays the price of being different. She is a young, single, unconventional woman full of laughter, full of pride in her dedication to and skill in teaching, who is always happy to attack hypocritical facades and watch them crumble. In her view, men aren't superior beings by definition. They must prove themselves so before they can command her respect. Raghunath Samant is the young villager who lives with his brother and sister-in-law and dotes on his nephew. He is a mild-mannered and friendly man running chores for the group and is asked to interact with them as the fourth witness. Mr. Kashikar, the dominant spouse, is the chairman of the theatre group who regards himself as a man of superior intelligence. He is shown to have a great sense of self-importance and sees himself as undertaking any and every action only with the prime objective in view. Therefore, he acts as the judge in the mock trial conducted in the play. Mrs. Kashikar is a middle-aged, married and childless housewife who is conventional and disapproving of independent women like Leela Benare. She does not have her own identity, so she is as keen as the men to draw blood when Miss Benare is put on trial. Mrs. Kashikar cannot have ever admitted even to herself that it is on account of the sacrosanct institution of marriage that she is open to Mr. Kashikar's constant insults and snubs. Balu Rokde, as a young boy, was given shelter by the Kashikars who fed, clothed and educated him while he ran errands and performed odd jobs for them. He accompanies them meekly and takes orders from them. He also acts as a witness against Miss Benare in the mock trial. Pongshe, one of the witnesses in the mock trial who heaps evidences against Leela Benare, is a failed scientist who works as a clerk at the Central Telegraph Office. His name is Pongshe. Sukhatme is a flop lawyer who plays the roles of both the counsel for the prosecution and that for the accused. Tendulkar's Silence, the Court is in Session depicted the tragedy of an individual victimized by society. The female protagonist becomes the victim of sadism of her male counterparts. The woman, Leela Benare, faces the mock charge of infanticide in the mock rehearsal of a play, and her affair with Professor Damle is exposed by her fellow actors. It is on Sukhatme's suggestion that the group members decide to make Benare the accused in the mock trial. It is notable that she is allowed the role of accused in Silence, the Court is in Session. Benare is cross-examined in the court with mockery. The focal point of the play is the violent response of the male-dominated society to premarital relationship and motherhood. The mock trial holds a mirror to our social response to such things. It is preeminently male biased. What is wrong, immoral for a woman is not so for a man. Miss Benare is the accused and not Professor Damle, though she is a prey of male chauvinism used simply to gratify bodily thirst and deserted at the end to her own destiny. Man has all the rights to be sinful in the society. All the rights are reserved specially for him. On the other hand, a woman must be deserted, ignored, thrown away, and should be punished for her sins. There is no escape for her in our society. She must be brutally destroyed for her actions, both physically and mentally. Finally, Benare is dismissed from the job. She cries in pain but does not succumb to the social torture and stands defiant till the end. The cynical game is well rooted in their sick psyche that informs the verdict they pass on her, with the sort of pleasure that can be the envy of professional torturers. The verdict is that her baby should be killed because its existence negates the very idea of moral value. The questions posed by the play call for a total overhauling of the society's entire moral code. Thus, Leela Benare represents all the women in India who are suppressed, oppressed, and marginalized. Tendulkar strives for effectiveness of assertion in a variety of ways in Silence, the Court is in Session, as it is considered his perfect creation. A multifaceted dramaturgic skill is employed in this drama. Stage within a stage, importance of absentee character, the problem of identity and feminine assertion, and above all, the poetic language are accurately and effectively interwoven in his dramatic pattern. Tendulkar is a problem playwright. The recurring themes in his play points out the social, individual, and ethical problems. The soul of his drama lies in the conflict between reality and illusion, life and art. In short, they are the conflicts between the individual and the society, where circumstances and environment play great roles. Without being sentimental and emotional, his characters show stark realism. Silence, the court is in session, is a search for reality and feminine identity, focusing on the role of women in the patriarchal society. The identity of a woman, her urge for social importance, economic sufficiency, and moral acceptance constitute the pivotal issue in the play. The protagonist Leela Benare, lonely and deserted by an absent culprit, Professor Damle, by whom she is pregnant, is made a mockery of in the trial. She begs judgment and wishes to be an independent individual determined to retain her identity and individualism at all costs. Silence, the court is in session, is an intense and detailed scrutiny of the art of theatre, which is a device, an infallible weapon to perceive and discover the truth prevailing in the society. The rehearsal of court proceedings within the play is the central action and the key to the very mystery of the plot. The dramatist succeeds in giving and justifying the truth after reaching the end of the mock trial. Simulation, dissimulation, acting, and role playing are the weapons that he resorts to throughout the play to achieve his objective to unmask male chauvinism. The play is also rich with imagery, vivid descriptions, carefully chosen words and phrases, and many references to image clusters and many symbolic incidental parallels makes the play a compact fabric of the dramatist's design. For example, while entering, the faulty latch of the door draws blood from Benare's hand, which symbolically hints at her inevitable suffering. The green-clothed parrot, half serious, half childish talk, and many such references can be cited as symbolic of Benare's sweet, soft heart and her innermost thoughts, feelings, passions, and motives. Thus, the problems of identity, middle class sentimentalism, male domination in the patriarchal society in the matter of discussion revealed Tendulkar to be an acute observer. He attempted to present it through theatrical elements which are never pointless, never hypocritical, never unscrupulous, or even hint of double dealing. Silence, the court is in session, has as its central impetus silence, both in the texture of the play and in the silent states of various characters at various moments. Interestingly, Tendulkar has played a type of word game with the word silence. The play has achieved a special appeal because silence is very intricately involved in and fused with both conscious and unconscious minds in Indian culture. Whereas mostly silence is a tool of suppression in the hands of social authoritarian institution, it also becomes at times an unheard voice of passive but effective revolt. But most importantly, it becomes instrumental for Miss Benare in disguising the rebellious unconscious mind whose eruption of violent language of protest otherwise could have led to the complete turning upside down of unperturbed but biased social stability. It is mainly the protagonist, Miss Benare's vocal and silent states that draw the attention of the readers. Sometimes she is silenced, sometimes it is she who silences herself, and sometimes silence comes down upon her automatically, but with a certain ideological and hidden political twist. Tendulkar, a conscious artist of the pros and cons of society, has reduced the complex power struggle prevalent in post-independent Indian society and culture into a miniature form of mock trial where a woman named Leela Benare, the representative figure of any free spirit opposing the male prejudiced traditional rules and regulations, is tried ferociously by a group of her co-actors with the fake illusion of and honoring the real court and its androcentric procedures. What is striking is the banging of the gavel by Mr. Kashikar in a real court-like manner, which results in a repressive silence. Time and again it is banged, not in order to maintain silence only, but rather to enforce silence. The stupefying paradox running in the play is the silence. By imposing this, the male-centered society, embodied in the collective voice of all the characters except that of Miss Benare, attempted to get the upper hand over her. It becomes intolerable for them when she deliberately keeps herself silent. The existential situation of Benare is really heartrending in the sense that when she wants to be vocal, she is forcibly silenced, but when she wants to be silent, she is forcibly compelled to break her silence and talk back. Tendulkar has played a word game with silence by presenting it at times in a negative light, suggesting extortion, passive tolerance and repressive state apparatus, and at times in the light of positivism, suggesting active force, a secret but influential way of conveying protest and defiance of what is truly unruly. As for Miss Benare, when she talks too much, her conscience is silent, but when she is apparently silent, her conscience can speak up. The drama presents a metaphysical trial between the humanists and the anti-humanists. Miss Leela Benare is summoned merely as a witness, while she remains the prime accused as the mother of an illegitimate child. As the trial proceeds, all the witnesses and authorities become inimical towards her. Miss Benare tries to defend herself through a long monologue at the end of the trial, but all in vain. The play is based on the theme of power, its sources and manifestation. The characters fight for authority and power and try to trap each other through a metaphorical mock court, but peculiarly, the power play that underscores the games operates more through their monologues rather than dialogues. Leela's position within the game of the mock trial is not steady. She oscillates between reality and illusion and the imaginative and the mundane. While performing the role of a woman in the group, she transcends the limitations of verbal reasoning and tries to move into masculine domains. The charges against Benare are levelled by evidences of reality that mark out the boundaries of what might be called the collective mindscape, the limits of experience. Miss Benare differs as to the best way to break loose from this enslavement to collective prejudice. But she believes that truth and reality are achieved only when reality is approached in the nakedness of the mind. Leela Benare's argument against body and its mechanical connections and her discourse of emotions saves her from dehumanization. Tendulkar repeatedly makes mention of society and social customs through his characters. In the mock court, Benare's crimes of infanticide and illegitimate motherhood are established by the prosecution as crimes against the society itself. Therefore, the prosecution and the judge give a discourse on motherhood while abusing and punishing her for being an unwed mother in an utterly inhuman manner. The play can be considered a marvelous piece of satire which pities the independent, vehemently assertive and immensely cheerful Leela Benare against the utterly selfish, hypocritical and malicious amateur artists, and paves the way as to how they are going to judge and reverse the natural justice. It depicts how an average middle class woman strives and struggles for preserving her womanhood and motherhood and her thirst to be accepted by the society. The depiction of the unsecured condition of Miss Benare explores the problems that exist among Indian women regarding legal rights and her absence of awareness about legislations and their enforcement and inadequacies of legal provisions. The purpose why the dramatist has selected different persons from different backgrounds can give some clues about the judicial circle and their judicial culture. The Kashikars, Sukhatme, Rokde, Pongshe and Karnik are the representatives of the existing personalities in judicial circle with their personal, familial, educational, ethical and professional defects. The commencement of the mock trial, which constitutes a play within the play, offers Tendulkar ample scope to dissect and lay bare the dormant ills of discontent in the psyche of these urban hypocrites. Though they gang themselves up against a hapless Miss Benare for the time being, they have nothing but spite for one another. Rokde is representative of the section of the populace which is enveloped in the culture of dependency and carried away by the lures of money, power and threat. Pongshe and Karnik are the other two catalysts who act as witnesses to present the issues but not to argue the case. They lack the logical order of proof for their expert testimony. Mr. Sukhatme's role in the play is a replica of the legal professionalism and an evidence of how there is a fall in efficiency and standard at the bar and which is on the verge of a collapse. The play's silence, the court is in session, is a question against existing legal curriculum. There is no roadmap for the image of reality in the procedure of the prosecution. There is an absence of trial dynamism in the play. The entire trial rotates around gimmick but is not based on any concrete evidence. There is no opening statement which presents the plaintiff's claims to the jury in a direct and reasonable way. It must give the jury an overview of what the evidence will be without argumentative hype and individualistic exhibitionism. Missing direct or cross examination ruthlessly rules out the fundamental rules of natural justice, that is, nobody can be a judge in his own cause and nobody should be condemned unheard. The foundation for the verdict, let the witness be himself, is not at all observed in this case. There is no review of the evidence offered by both the sides. The judge's ruling is based on what the law presents. It seems that instructions to jurors will directly affect their judgment. The doctrine of locus standi, a principle that the judicial time as well as energy ought not be wasted over hypothetical or abstract questions, has been neglected and the truth that the trial is the time of decision and the moment of truth has been gained and gathered, assessed, weighed and measured for hours together in the dock room. Thus, the play barbs against existing judicial system at two levels. Firstly, it can be studied as a legal plea which demands for emancipation, equality and liberation of women and stresses the need for a social transformation of law, culture and social patterns which release women's potential. Secondly, the play can be a thesis on elite court relations in India as an unsatisfactory arrangement where, being structurally a part of the state, the courts are expected to maintain a high degree of independence and to be ensured of a democratic policy. Therefore, in today's session, we looked at length both into the characters present in the play and also at the judicial structure prevalent in the society as represented by Vijay Tendulkar in the play Silence, the Court is in Session. Hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you.